morning and welcome back to the Dunton Homestead. Today I'm going to be harvesting some comfrey. I have it planted in several spaces around the yard and with plans to propagate it even more in different areas around the gardens and fruit tree areas. It would have been more ideal for me to have harvested it maybe a week ago. It started blooming this week, and the leaves are more potent with the medicinal properties before it blooms. But it doesn't mean that they don't have the medicinal properties. It tends to be more potent if you are able to harvest them before they bloom. So I'm going to go ahead and start harvesting and get it put away. As I mentioned before, the best time to harvest leaves for comfrey for salves is before they start blooming. They have stronger medicinal properties. So I'm going to do the best I can to harvest leaves that don't have any blooms on them yet. And if I need to fill out the freeze dryer trays, I'll go ahead and just cut some. It's not like there isn't any medicinal value to it. It's just it's more potent before they bloom. So I'm just going to go ahead and start snipping. Got my trusty basket. I've been doing a lot of purging over the winter, and I've been bringing my stuff to this thrift store that its proceeds go to women's shelters, battered women's shelters, and I think I'd rather do that than some of the bigger organizations. And then after I dump off all my junk that I've been purging, I've been going in and I've been buying baskets, because I go through a lot of baskets. There's a lot of wear and tear on them. And I can usually pick up decent sized baskets for $2 or $3, which I think is pretty cool. This is the area that I saw a copperhead last year, so I always get a little unnerved when I'm over here. A couple hours later, I saw this little guy in the garden. Not a copperhead, but I wish they understood that when I'm in the garden, it's supposed to be a snake-free zone. I think I'm going to be propagating more of these, digging up the roots. I pretty much dug up all of these. I originally put 10 roots in here, and I dug up a bunch of them. I gave some to some of my friends, and just little pieces. And I put a few down in the herb garden. And they're just huge. They propagate so easy, and I think it's about time. Well, when these die back, actually I have to check to see if I have to wait for them to die back. I'm gonna start putting them everywhere, all over the property. Comfrey is good for so many things. One of those nitrogen fixers. It's a good cover crop. Chickens love him. Very nutritious for chickens. We'll go down to the newer plants down in the herb garden. I can't believe how well these came up. I was worried whenever I move something, transplant something, that I'm going to disturb the roots to the point where they're just not going to come back. And this comfrey is so prolific. I think I have enough. If not, I'll just come out and snip up some more to fill out the freeze-dry trays. Once I got it in the house, I just gave it a quick rinse to remove any possible bugs or spider webs that might be on it, and then laid it out on a towel to try and dry it a little bit before chopping it up. The first few times I did some freeze drying of comfrey leaves, I just put the whole leaves on the tray, and I've come to realize that I can get a lot more on the tray just by simply chopping them up. Comfrey has been used as a medicinal herb for hundreds of years. There are several studies online that you can find of the many uses that have been found useful with using comfrey.
The National Library of Medicine lists it as being a topical treatment for pain, inflammation, swelling of muscles and joints, arthritis. It is an analgesic and an anti-inflammatory. It is not antibacterial. In fact, I have heard people say that if you have an open wound, you probably shouldn't use it because it acts so fast. If you have started with an infection in that wound, it'll seal it up, and you don't want to seal up an infection in your skin, obviously. I will be putting the trays into the freeze dryer. It will probably run about 24 hours or so, probably not much more than that because there's not going to be a whole lot of moisture in there. That's one of the reasons for the using the freeze dryer, is so that you can get all the moisture out of it, and then when you add the oils to it, you're not going to promote any molding. And then I will, when I have time, I'll start the project of making creams and salves and such at a later date. Approximately 24 hours later, I got home from church. It was Mother's Day. Just went ahead and filled the jars. Full freeze dryer got me 3 full quart jars. I went ahead and put oxygen absorbers in. Not that they really need them, because I know I'm going to be using a couple of these jars in the near future, but I just wanted to be safe rather than sorry. It's pretty humid these days. It's super important to label everything. I'm really bad at that. I still have jars from a couple years ago that I don't know what's in them because I didn't label them.
Today I'm ready to move on to the next step of preparing this comfrey that I freeze dried for creams and balms and oil infusions and whatever I want it for. But I'm only going to do 2 of the 3. The third jar I'm just going to put with my other dried herbs that I have prepped for other projects. So my first step is I'm going to open them, and I'm going to do them in 2 different ways. So I'm going to take out the oxygen packs, which were probably unnecessary for me to put them in there, seeing how they've only been in the jars for a couple of days and I had them screwed on tight. But I'm going to take those out, toss those away. I'm going to do 1 of the jars in my crock pot. This is what you do for if you want a quick infusion. You have to have it set on low. I have a smaller crock pot, one that's not like one that I would make family dinner in, but I find that it runs really hot, and you have to keep it, I'm trying to remember what the degrees are. If you go too high with the temperature, then it ends up ruining your the medicinal properties of what you're trying to get out of whatever herbs you're using for infusion. And so I figured I'll just throw it in here. I'm not using this today. I'll just throw it in here. And the other one, I'm going to do a longer method, which will take 6 weeks. And that's just pouring the oil into the jar, covering it, and putting it where I will see it, and just shaking it, just making sure it's mixed around every day for about 6 weeks. And both will get you the same achievement. I'm wanting to do it the quicker method with one of them because I do want to be making some body creams within the next week or so. I have been using, when I've done this in the past, I've been using olive oil, and I'm finding it's heavier. It doesn't absorb into the skin as well. And most people use it because it's like the cheapest oil you get. I'm going to use grapeseed oil and these 2 just because I want to see if it will absorb better. One of the problems I've run into when I've done these projects is I'm either putting too much beeswax in it, so it's hard and you'll have to like warm it up. You have to like scratch it and warm it up with your hands to get it out of the container, and then it'll smooth in, or it's just too greasy. So I'm trying to find the right balance. So I'm still learning this stuff, and
We'll see how this goes. I'm gonna try it with the grape seed. I'll label it well so I'll know what I did different. I'm gonna use the jar for measuring. And most people, I think when they are doing this, they're doing it in pint jars. I'm doing it in a quart jar, just because I want to have more ready. I do want to make quite a few in the next couple weeks, quite a few body creams. So you want to have enough oil. I have almost a quart in there to cover all the leaves. And stir it around and make sure it's all saturating in. One of the things that's good about doing this with dried leaves rather than fresh leaves is you've already got the moisture content out, so there's not going to be water. There's less chances of spoilage because you're using live matter, real live matter. So I'm going to go ahead and call that happy, and I'm going to leave this in here for about 6 hours on the lowest setting, which is keep warm. You start off on low, and then like in an hour or so move it to keep warm. Just want to make sure that I don't exceed the temperature and then just waste the time. The other one I'm just going to go ahead and pour in, mix it around. Now, in the past for fragrance, if I wanted to have a fragrance, I've been using essential oils, which can get expensive. So I wanted to try something different this time. And this year, my lavender plant is actually growing. This is the first successful year that I actually have flowers on them. Now, I haven't done a whole lot of research on whether you get more flowers by cutting them. There's some things that you can, it's like a cut and come again, like they'll just keep producing, they produce better. Like roses, you deadhead them and they come out better. I'm not sure if lavender works that way, but I went out and I cut off all my lavender flowers, hoping that they come back. I was really excited when I saw my little lavender flowers come up, and I'm out there smelling them, and I'm like, I can't smell anything. And so Rick picked one and he like squished it, and then all the scent came. So I'm gonna kind of like break them up, and I'm gonna split these off, like put half in each project, and just kind of like squish them in there. And what I'm hoping to do is to capture the scent, the real lavender flower scent. If not, I'll put essential oils in if it doesn't end up working the way I'm hoping. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm gonna try new things. Smells amazing right now. It's just breaking it up. Now I'm on to the one that I'm going to keep in the mason jar for the other half of the lavender. Breaking that up. When each one of these are all done, I will strain it. I will either use a cheesecloth or I will use a very small hold sieve and strain it, and then keep the oil aside in a dark place. I think dark place, let me check that, until I'm ready to use it. My plan is to take you along when I'm actually doing the lotions, creams, salves, whatever it is I decide to do. So that will be another video. I'm just going to remember to shake this and keep it, probably going to keep it right on the kitchen counter here. That way when I'm out here I'll see it and I'll just shake it when it needs to be shaked. And I will stir this on occasion throughout the day for the next 6 hours, and then go ahead and strain it out.
Thank you for joining me today. If you like following me around to see what I'm learning and what I'm trying, what works out, what doesn't, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, because I've got a lot of things that I try that works out or not. Maybe you can learn from my mistakes. Be a blessing and be blessed.